It is now 2:30, and it's time for Kevin's son, who's calling in from Brooklyn. Is it Brooklyn?
Manhattan, actually.
Oh, well, yeah. Of course, that's a little bit better. Actually, these days, I think Brooklyn and Manhattan are on equal par. Am I correct?
I'd say so. I live in Brooklyn, but I work in Manhattan. So.
Well, there is just so much great music coming out of there. I just an earlier artist I had on did a recording there. You know, Sine Ig from Denmark.
I don't think I'm aware. No.
And
unfortunately,
yeah, there's lots going on. Well, I want to thank. Let's see. I'm trying to remember who to thank. Anne Braithwaite and Braithwaite and Katz and all her people for sending me your new CD, which is called Trio, and with a nice painting on the front. Who did the painting?
My girlfriend.
Oh, she's very talented. So on this recording, it's yourself, Kevin Son, on tenor sax and C melody saxophone and clarinet, and you have Walter Stinson on bass and Matt Honor on drums. And I thought maybe you could introduce what you're doing here. I mean, I have a bio on it, but I'd rather hear it from your mouth.
Sure. So this is an ensemble that largely, almost exclusively plays my compositions. I basically put it together, I want to say, the summer of 2016. I actually didn't have any intention of recording the band, really. I just wanted to put together sort of a really agile, small group that could workshop some music and just kind of work through some, ideas with rhythm and harmony, compositional forms that I had been thinking about. And that's really why we got together. And then sort of the music took off, and I thought, I want to document it. So.
And you're also teaching, right?
Not so. I have one private student, but I'm not doing so much formal teaching. I did TA for a semester for the pianist Vijay Iyer at Harvard, but that was, I guess, 2 years ago exactly. Yeah.
So mostly you're doing live gigs at this time?
Just trying to play as much as I can around New York. Still getting together with musicians to work on music, and it's been great.
Well, it must be a thrill to play New York clubs. I mean, there's so many great. I would have to say probably, and I think you'll agree that New York is the ground zero for contemporary jazz in this country.
Yeah, I like to think so. If not the whole world.
That too. And where are you playing? What's your next gig?
So we'll be celebrating the release of the album next Wednesday, the 31st, at the Jazz Gallery in Manhattan.
And how big is that place?
I believe it seats 79, something like that. I used to work there. I used to work the door there, and I've kind of worked on and off there in various capacities.
Were you the bouncer?
There's no bouncer there. There's a doorman, but yeah.
Yeah, because I could see you hitting somebody over the head with your sax and keeping them in line.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty tame place, aside from the music. But
well, I'm going to start off with this. It's the first track. It's called Transaccidentation. Is that right?
That's right.
Let's check it out. This is Kevin Son Trio on the Rock. That's the Kevin Sun Trio. And the new album is just simply entitled Trio. And Kevin, I was amazed at looking at the liner notes, and that's in 15/8. I've never even heard of 15/8. So would you please count it out just to give people a feel for how you would count it out, as I have no idea.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it sounds more complicated than it is. You can kind of think of it as just being in 5. So, if the tempo of that song was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But, basically all the beats are subdivided into 3s. So that's where you get 15. You can, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, etc.
Right.
So there you go, 15.
15/8. God, what's another weird time signature? Do you have any other weird ones on this album?
Loading screen is nominally an 11. And let's see if anything else. Ballroom dancing it's in. These are all numbers, but they don't really mean that much, out of context.
Right.
Ballroom dancing, I think you can think of as being in 15, 14, and 21. But again, it's similar. Where, if I actually tapped it out, you would get it immediately.
Yeah. I mean,
numbers.
I'm a drummer, but I have a hard time with those really odd signatures. Like, I can't play reggae. I just can't get into the feel. There's no way I can't do it. It just always seems backwards to me. The next song I wanted to play was Abe Purifier, and I just wondered how you came up with the title, and is it actually about something?
Yeah, it is about an air purifier. I wrote that song in December of 2016. I was visiting my girlfriend, who was living in Beijing at the time, playing some gigs, and there's some really bad pollution in Beijing.
Oh yeah.
There has been for quite a while. News has covered it, and it was a particularly bad winter, and so the air was so bad all the time that you were wearing a mask. To filter out, all the particles. And even indoors you needed a special apparatus to filter out the air because, there's so much particulate. So she had this air purifier machine that I had never seen. We don't need it in the U.S., thankfully, but... Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought it cut out. So anyway, she had this air purifier, and, I was kind of jet-lagged and just trying to write some music, and I sort of followed it as it... it would change automatically. It would increase the setting and get really loud, or, if there was more that it needed to filter out. And so I just sort of wrote this 3-part piece that was inspired by that.
And so how long did you spend in Beijing?
That trip I spent, I want to say, around 10 days. Yeah. So it wasn't too long, but not too short.
I can't, I lived in L.A. for 20 years, and the air, when I was living there, got to the point in 2000 when I came here, I actually could not breathe anymore. I lived in the hills above Hollywood, and I was at an inversion layer point. So a lot of times when all this traffic is happening, I was at about, 500 feet elevation, and just the thick, utterly toxic stuff would all be right there. You're in a beautiful place, but you can't breathe. And that's when I decided to move. And I've looked at these pictures of Beijing, and you can't see more than a couple of 100 feet. I can't imagine breathing that. Has it gotten any better?
It's gotten much better, actually. So I was just there 3 weeks ago, and it was like night and day. I've heard that they're shutting down a lot of factories, in the cities surrounding Beijing, which I think is a big factor for that. But it remains to be seen in the long term.
Well, this is Abe Purifier, the Kevin Sun Trio, here on Tuesday Lunch. That's Kevin Sun, and a beautiful composition off of his trio album. It's called Abe Purifier. And Kevin, I want to make sure that people know that this album has not come out yet.
Yes.
It's coming out on February 2nd, and the CD release party is where?
It's at the Jazz Gallery in Manhattan next Wednesday, the 31st.
Have you already sold it out?
I don't know how pre-sales are doing, but we're promoting it the best we can. So.
Well, I think I love your music. It's very atmospheric. It's very different from Earprint.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it is different.
And that was the other album we featured, I don't know, a year and a half ago?
Yeah, just over a year. Yeah, probably a year and a half.
And, you're only, what, 28?
26.
26. Wow. Do you feel like you're an old soul? You've been around?
My body definitely feels like it's getting older. I don't know about my mind, but...
Well, I thought that playing saxophone is good for your air, good for your lungs.
Yeah,
unless
sure.
you're in Beijing.
Well, unless you're in Beijing. Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah, not so good over there.
And let's see. I'd like to also tell people your website is Endectomorph, so that's ENDECTOMORPH, endectomorph.com, where you can find all the different gigs that you're playing and your record, your discography, I guess you could call it.
Mm.
And what other exciting things are you working on? Are you going to start recording a new record?
I don't have anything on the horizon. I mean, basically, this band is just going to be touring the next few months. So we're playing 2 dates in D.C. in February, February 17th at Rhizome and February 18th at Twins. We're playing at my old high school in March. That'll be fun.
Are you going to do a workshop?
I'm not sure yet. I think it depends on the schedules, but I think that's the plan for now. So we'll most likely do a workshop. And then in April, on the 15th of April, we'll be playing at City of Asylum in Pittsburgh, followed by a night in Montreal on the 21st of April at Resonance Cafe.
Is that in Montreal?
It's in Montreal, yes.
I love Montreal. Montreal is one of my favorite cities. Everybody dresses so good on the street. It's just amazing.
It's a hip city.
It's a very hip city, and it's the food there is great. The cultural offerings, I don't know if you're into those smoked meat sandwiches, but
yes.
I mean, you can't have too many of those because they're not terribly good for you. But they do. If you're a carnivore, every once in a while, it's like going to Philadelphia and get a cheesesteak sandwich. It's like that, but in Montreal, it's different.
Yeah, they're great.
So I think I was going to ask you, what were we talking about? We were going to talk about something that related to the record. Now I can't remember what it is. Bittergreen is the next cut we're going to play. But what were? Oh yes, we were going to talk about. We're going to talk about the licensing of music for television commercials and film, and I think that's one of the things that this music would be really good for, because it could really fit well in incidental music, and that's the way a lot of musicians are making good coin these days, because you don't make that much money selling your CDs.
No.
And you don't make that much money touring, at least not often. But licensing of music is a pretty good thing now, and
absolutely.
And you also have a blog. Can you tell people about your blog?
Yeah, it's called A Horizontal Search, and the link to it is the Kevin Sun, so the plus my name.com. I've had it since 2012. I started when I was in college, just to write about music and kind of what I was studying and checking out. So there are a lot of transcriptions, some articles about topics that interest me in jazz. So, it's out there.
Do you also listen to music that's predates your time here and there? Do you listen to early 30s jazz, or do you like the older stuff?
Yeah, I've been basically all of 2017. I basically only listened to sort of 1936 through 1940 Count Basie. Just really obsessed with that music, and particularly Lester Young. So it's been a fixation of mine lately.
Are you hip to Ghost Train Orchestra?
No.
Ghost Train Orchestra is a, let's see, where are they located? I think they're in Boston. Check it out when you have a chance. They were a guest here on the show. There's this new record they have out called Book of Rhapsodies Volume 2. And they took these really obscure 1930s small big bands and stuff that just wasn't well known, and they basically recorded them just like they were recorded back in the day, but of course with better recording equipment. And I think you'd enjoy that if you like the 30s.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
it's
I'll
all
definitely
30s
check it
stuff.
out.
And no West Coast plans right now, right?
Not yet. One day, I hope.
That'd be nice to see you. It's easy to travel with a trio. You don't have to.
Exactly.
Not a lot
yeah.
of stuff, and even if the drummer doesn't want to take his drums with him, you could always rent a set of drums on a tour.
Yeah. Same with bass. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm always amazed at these traveling basses, the ones with the neck comes off, and it just rolls around like a piece of luggage.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing.
Well, thank you, Kevin Sun. And again, it's endectomorph.com, endectomorph.com. And keep an eye out for his new dates. He's doing lots of dates around New York and Montreal. And what's the other places? Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh, yeah.
And we're going to end with Bittergreen. You want to give a little background to this one?
Bittergreen, I wrote, I want to say 2015 when I was finishing my master's degree at New England Conservatory of Music. It's basically, I guess you call it negative reharmonization of Sweet Georgia Brown. So it's very, very loosely related to Sweet Georgia Brown.
Good. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Well, thank you.
Best wishes to you, and we'll check in with you some other time. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thanks, Abe.
You're welcome. This is 97.3 and 107.9 The Rock. It's KEBF Morro Bay, KZSR, Paso Robles, listener-supported community radio for the Central Coast.